Hello guys, welcome back to the channel where I'm going steadily insane. We've already talked about how Loki is a trickster, and we're getting somewhere with this. There was something he asked me 4 years ago. He asked me, would I study the runes for him, and I was like, yeah. But then being Loki, he decided to hold on to his runes. And I just never went out and got another set, and I like doing Tarot Bearer, and he would pester me to do the runes, and I would say, I don't want to touch those are yours. And long story short, we never got around to doing the runes. It never happened. And he wanted it, but then he dropped it. And I figured he was bored. And then Odin showed up over the last year or so. And Odin's been pushing me for the runes. So I was like, alright, if the Allfather's getting involved in my life, the least I can do is go read the runes. Today, as I'm going outside and I'm doing a couple things, this horrible flash of insight hit me. I thought, I've never seen Loki and Odin together. And I thought, no. The closest I've come where it will feel like Odin's right here, for example, and then Loki's right here, but I'm never getting both at once. And I thought, no, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't keep something running this long. Why would he? Then I remembered he's Loki. And expecting a trickster not to trick you just because you love them and serve them is like expecting the wind not to blow or the sun not to shine. You can expect it all you want, but that's probably likely not going to happen. And I said, Loki. And he's like, yeah. I said, you've been playing Odin, haven't you? Can I have a cookie? I said, why? And he, if you work with him long enough, you'll get about 30 different answers all at once in a jumble, and you get to pick the right one. And you'll never know if you picked the right one or not. He'll just throw a bunch at you all at once, and he'll be like, well, because I wanted you to learn the runes, and I wanted you to study, and I wanted this offering, and you didn't want to give me this offering, and I wanted the just word stream past you, and you got to just pick one that makes the most sense. And I said, do I even have any other gods? And I was thinking about other gods and goddesses that I've served in the interim. I said, this is starting to explain a lot of stuff. And I said, why would you do this? Why would you imitate all these other gods from all over the world and keep it up for years? I wanted to. You weren't ready to work with me, so I wanted to. Why? I love you. And I think he wanted to do some toughening up. He pushed me into heathenry. He pushed me into studying heathenry. Because, newsflash, Loki's not the favorite god among a lot of heathens. And maybe he was doing his separating people stuff, because he knows very well, being Loki, that people who like Loki don't always like Odin, and people that like Odin don't always like Loki. And he had his own reasons that I will never know. And as he said before, certain gods can get certain stuff out of certain people, where other gods can't. Odin got rune study out of me. Odin got a lot of things. Odin has all this heathen stuff coming now. Little trinkets, but still. And I looked at him, I said, would you have ever told me if I didn't figure it out? And there was no sense getting mad. A trickster isn't going to leave their divine trickster nature outside the door. He thought I needed a lesson. Now, what the lesson was exactly, I don't know. And I said, do you know how much trouble we're both going to be in with the Allfather? I said, no, he'll probably forgive you, but he'll expect me to have known better. This explains a lot. This explains a hell of a lot about Odin. It explained why, I'd be working with the runes, but Odin would never tell me what the rune meant and would have me go study, and I thought it was just a learning thing. It explains why Odin enjoyed the club so much. Explain why Odin mentioned I get that adult package. For VR, it explains a lot, actually. Explains why Odin liked coffee and Pop-Tarts and some of the outfits Odin showed up in and some of the things Odin did. I just thought I was getting a very, very unique part of Odin no one had ever seen before. I should have known. He was dropping hints. Loki's credit, he was dropping hints all this time. I thought something was wrong when the Allfather thought the poll was amusing and he should try it out himself, but I thought, I don't know, maybe he's drunk. I have no idea. Try to get that imagery out of your mind. You can't now, but I have to live with it too, so if I'm going to suffer, you are too. Loki's like, yeah! And he wanted things Loki couldn't get. And if it meant having to be Odin for a year, 2 years, 10 years, he'd do it. If it meant being something else, he'd do it. And the funny thing was, I was listening to this near-death experience this person had yesterday. And I know the lens of her faith can color things. So I know that before you say anything. And the way this person's describing this angel, I'm like, that has to be Freyr or Balder. It's one of the two. It was just the way he acted, the way he shone, the way light glowed from within him. I'm like, that's either Balder or Freyr. That's one of the two. And I kind of knew, but I wouldn't walk up to that person and say, well, you're mistaken. You didn't meet an angel. You met, Teutonic god. That wouldn't have went over too well. I would never do that to someone else, but I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And they believe the same way. That if an angel had to pretend to be a pagan god to bring you back to God or something, they believe that would happen. I don't know. I work with Loki. I long ago learned that my hold on reality is tenuous at best, because this is today's reality. This is today's reality. Tomorrow the Allfather will be back and asking me why he didn't get this or that or the other, and I will say, well, because Loki. That's my excuse for everything, because Loki. But Loki is kind of like it. Loki is the bad little voice in my head sometimes that tells me to do naughty things, like, spend tax money, meant for paying to get the taxes done, spend it on video games or fast food or something. I'll tell him no. I don't know why he does that, other than he's that little voice sometimes in your head that's like, let's go do something wrong. And you'll go do something wrong and you'll think, well, he'll have my back because Buddy wants to have fun. He won't always have your back. I learned that lesson. So it's a thing of learning to trust him. And I was like, this really makes sense now, because Odin was not behaving like Odin. I was buying books, I was reading heathen articles, and I was like, I have a very strange variation of Odin. He cries easily. He's upset. He's emotionally invested in everything. He likes kittens. I have the strangest version of Odin ever. And you must all be asking yourself, as I asked Loki, why didn't Odin show up and stop Loki? I don't think Odin cares what Loki does. I think Loki is such a handful and so fast that by the time the other gods even turn in his general direction, he's off somewhere else and doing something else. And over the millennia and eons, they have just learned, you know what, just let him go, because he's crazy and he's running all over the place and he's doing everything. I said, well, are we still going to do rune studies now? I got yes and no is my answer, and that's typical with Loki. We did a rune today, and I was like, I don't have the aptitude for these damn things. They're just foreign to me. I've learned some of the names, I've learned to recognize them, and I've learned to most of the time read stuff written in the runes, but I said, it's not calling to me. I said, tarot, I can do back and forward, I can do other stuff for omens and that. I said, but it's just not calling to me. It's not something I really enjoy. It's where the logic in my brain kicks in, unfortunately, because I start just questioning everything and pulling everything apart in some systems, and I don't know why I do it. I'm not calling rune masters illogical, by the way. But it's like when I read the tarot, I know they originally started out as playing cards. That's what they were meant for, playing cards for the aristocracy. When I do Ouija, I know it was started by some shysters, and they claim that there's this mechanic in your body that you cannot stay still, and that's how it works. Now, I said, that's one explanation. Another explanation is spirits are answering you, and the third explanation is you yourself are answering you. And my explanation is, if it works, I don't care. I'm sure that you could explain the pendulum the same way. In fact, I know you could. As long as it works and I get reliable information, I don't care if it's coming from random muscle movement or the gods or myself. I really don't care as long as it works. And with the runes, I haven't been getting out. With the runes, I'm just getting vague stuff. Kind of works, kind of doesn't. I think Loki wanted to do the thing of putting me through the course of going in and out of Heathenry the last couple years. Figuring out some people just don't give a damn about Loki. Some serve him. Some absolutely hate him. I was on the Heathenhof Facebook thing today, and they had posted a thing of somebody wrote an article defending Loki and saying this one guy was exceptionally abhorrent. And of course, somebody has to jump on the fact that, oh, all those Lokeans do is talk to each other in UPG. That's all Odinists do, or Thorsmen do, or anyone does. If you're working with the gods and experience them, you exchange experiences. Same as people who work with the Nari, or people who work with the Buddha, or people that work with Jesus, or people that work with whoever. We exchange experiences. It doesn't mean that we're off living in fantasy land, but this person was having none of it. They were one of those people that they don't like UPG. It's all UPG. You think Odin came down and personally wrote our stories? I've got a god that would like to work with you in that case. He's like, yeah, give me all the true believers. Give them to me. There's nothing wrong with having belief, guys. You know that. But we should take our lore with a huge grain of salt and keep in mind the fact that it reflects the culture that was born in, and it was a culture where life was short and brutal and tough. If you lived to old age, it was an exception, not the norm. Where we're living in a much different culture. And sometimes the things that apply in one culture can be a disaster and head you down the road in another culture. If you're a warrior and you're always ready for war and you're always ready to fight, that's one thing. If you're a civilian living in a, normal world, quote unquote, always being ready for a fight and always having a chip on your shoulder can lead to trouble. I was often told by my elders, and it's true. Do not look for trouble. Trouble will find you. If you go around town looking for fights, you will get into fights. It's not that you're a warrior, it's you're going out looking for fights. So, I figured I'd share that. I had thought his mischief was down to 0. And he wasn't bothering me with Odin at all. I mean, not even a little peep. Every so often, Loki would jump in. And I noticed it last night. Odin was having problems with his voice. It was like he was somebody with a natural higher voice trying to hit a bass voice. And I said, what's wrong with your voice? He's like, what? And it was like somebody got caught doing something, but I just thought, whatever, maybe it's one of the other gods they want attention. I said, your voice is off. What? And he's been giving other hints too. He's been answering me in the voice of other gods. And I'm like, do I even have any other gods? Loki likes strange stuff. Loki likes to accumulate stuff, and then he's not interested in it, and he doesn't need it, and he'll walk away from it. He doesn't want to see it anymore because it's boring. He liked that sugar game last night. That was the game. He had visions of that game. We were going to make all these music videos. This morning I took him in it and I said, if we haven't even played it a half hour yet, Loki, I'm not going to invest any more money in this game. I didn't invest any money, but I said, I'm not going to pay just to do a little more. And there was one more function we could play with and we tried it. Boring. I said, boring. Yeah, boring. So good thing I didn't put my money down on the game. Now tomorrow I'm going to change his mind. But that's Loki. Have a flexible income if you're going to serve Loki. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.